would love to have, because she had a very loving heart. But my granddaddy, Knowles, was the one that I could depend upon for love, unconditional love. I knew that when I would go and see him, his little eyes would light up, and he was a little man. He was a small man in stature. But I would just run and jump in his arms, and I loved him, and he loved just holding me, and he would sit me in his lap, and he'd try and teach me to play the piano, and he played piano by ear. But when at one point, it was a horrific night in our family when my mother was being beaten so severely, and I can remember running through the woods. It was late at night. We didn't have phone in our home, and I ran through the woods to the neighbor's house that had a phone to call the police. But I also called my granddaddy, because the police had come to our house many times. You know, the sheriff, they came to the rural routes, and nothing happened. But I knew if I called my granddaddy that something would. And I called him, and he showed up. He and my grandmother. And bless his little sweetheart, he made a valiant effort. And I can tell, that was probably the first memory that I have of just horrific chaos in my house. I mean, it was just chaos. And I can remember my granddaddy, when he heard us screaming and my mother screaming, because, and it was a long way. It wasn't a little jaunt now from my granddaddy's house downtown Lakeland to our rural route farmhouse. It was a little drive, and, we didn't have fast cars. He didn't have a fast car. I think he had a Ford, but it wasn't that fast then. But, it took him a few little whiles to get there. And, but even then, my dad was still beating my mother horrifically. I don't know how she lived through some of it, but my granddaddy, when he heard the commotion, just ran through the house, and my grandmother's right on his tail, and he stepped between my mother and my dad. As small a frame as he was, and my dad was a looming man. He was about 6'5", 6'6", and he was a big man, and he just flattened my granddaddy. It was all over in one fell swoop, but he would get back up and he'd try again. And my grandmother got in the middle of it. It was, I can remember the chaos surrounding that. But at that point, my granddaddy told my mother, either you come with us and bring the kids, or you sleep in the bed you lay. She stayed. I don't know why she stayed, but she stayed. And probably, in hindsight, to save his life, because I don't believe that my dad would have ever let her go with him. And so it was probably more of a sacrifice on my mother's part than it was even, blind love on her part. But at that point, we were forbidden to see my granddaddy ever again. She could not go to their house, and she could not take us. And so we were forbidden to see them. And so there were several years that we went where we did not ever see mother's family. And I was brokenhearted over not seeing my grandfather, because that was my delight. It was my delight of my childhood to see him. And when the Gideon finally put the Bible in my hand, and I, became so thirsty for the Lord, and I stood out on that roadside, I found a neighbor, he's about 2 or 3 miles down the road, but I helped him share crop as well. And I found out by helping them one Saturday to harvest their tobacco that they went to church, and I asked them if I could go to church with them, if they'd pick me up. And so at that point was when I started my quest to go to church, begging Dad to let me go. And he would heap all these chores, saying, if you can go, if you do your chores. And then, of course, he'd go on his He'd increased my chores, by the way, and so I had to do what I usually did plus. And then, of course, the Saturday night drunken binge would come, and Sunday morning he would change his mind, and then he'd leave the stripes up and down my legs if I was going to go to church, and I took the stripes anyway. But I'll never forget the first Sunday. And I had those stripes up and down my back and my legs, but Brother Cecil Register picked me up to go to church, and here I had my little Gideon's Bible in my hand, and I walked in the church that he took me to. I had no idea where he went. I didn't care. It didn't matter to me where he went to church. But when I walked in the church, there sat my granddaddy. There sat my granddaddy, and I can remember praying so many days, so many nights, that God would let me see my granddaddy again. And it was that was when I knew that God heard my prayers, because there sat my granddaddy, and I can remember just running down the aisle of Pleasant Way Baptist Church to my granddaddy and just embracing him and hugging him and loving him and sitting right there, first Sunday in church, sitting right there by my granddaddy, between my granddaddy and my grandmother, and enjoying Brother Hobbs preach one hellfire damnation sermon from a Baptist pulpit, and it was glorious. But that was an answered prayer of my first childhood answered prayer, and it was a lot of years that I prayed that. What about you? 571-2428, 571-CHAT. Funny how a topic will change, isn't it?
WFIA, The Spirit.
Wish there was a place to find good, clean, family-safe entertainment? A place with no violence or profanity? Where you can let the kids roam free? That place is the all-new GodTube.com. Watch inspirational videos that'll challenge and motivate. Catch the latest music videos from Christian artists like Jeremy Camp, Hillsong, and Chris Tomlin. And share a laugh with clean comedians like Tim Hawkins, Anita Renfro, and more. All free 24/7 right in your own home at the simple touch of a button. Visit the new GodTube.com. That's GodTube.com.
I'm not a genius about money. I love my credit cards, and they love me. I was using them as a source of income, and then I got behind in my payments, and creditors were calling. I figured I had a problem, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I heard about Trinity, so I called and talked to a counselor. In half an hour, we worked out a plan. Now I've got one easy monthly payment, a lower interest rate, and I'm getting out of debt.
Linda wants to talk about answered prayers.
Of paying on credit card balances that never seem to go away, then get ready for a toll-free number that will put you on a path to financial recovery.
Well, she said she didn't want to go on the air. She didn't want her voice to go on the air. And I told her, I said, well, we can, you don't have to use your name. We can give you another name. She says, no, I don't want to go on the air about this, but I want to send Joyce an email and get her advice.
Call 1-800-936-5496. That's 1-800-936-5496. Call 1-800-936-5496.
Hi, my name is Holton. I'm a senior at Christian Academy of Louisville, and I've been here since kindergarten. Cal's just a really good school because they have great athletics, and the teachers really care about the students.
How are Webby's
the students
parents
care about
doing?
each other. The teachers really do care about what you're learning. They've really taught me a lot about studying, about taking notes, and really how to succeed as a person. Since I've been at Cal, I've played baseball, lacrosse, and soccer and football.
Was she a good cook?
And I've also been in the Y Club, in the Spirit Club, and the Latin Club, and I've been in the National Honor Society. I'm very fortunate at Christian Academy to be able to go to the college of choice, and not only that, but have a full scholarship there. That's a testament to what Cal's done for me. If I could thank Cal for one thing, it would be for preparing me for college and being able to form relationships with people around me. If all this sounds good to you, you can check out Christian Academy online or schedule...
Probably like school lunches.
Here's today's Bible Minute with David Chadwick.
An airplane needs two wings in order to fly. If you take one of the wings off the airplane, it simply can't fly. the same is true for those of us who call ourselves followers of Jesus. There should be two wings on our Jesus airplane, if you will. The first one's called proclamation. We need to tell the world the gospel of Jesus Christ, that He has entered this world to forgive us of our sins, and we're now free from guilt forever and ever. But there's another wing, and it's called demonstration. We're to care for the needs of our neighbor, for the poor, the needy, and the oppressed. When we do proclamation and demonstration, we truly make a difference in the world. So folks, make sure you have two wings on your Christian airplane. You need them both to fly to be effective in changing this world for Jesus.
For more encouragement from God's Word, come to backtothebible.org.
Congratulations, Louisville. This is Steve Arterburn, and for 50 years you've been blessed with a radio station in your community that has helped spread the good news of the gospel and help bring new followers to Jesus Christ. It's an outstanding achievement, and we're proud to be a part of WFIA's past, present, and future. From all of us at New Life Ministries, happy anniversary. And join me weekdays at 1 o'clock for New Life Live right here on WFIA, The Spirit.
You're listening to Just Ask Joyce on WFIA, The Spirit.
Thank you so much for joining me today. It's kind of a Q&A day, but a call-in day, and we kind of got started talking about answered prayers, and I appreciate Linda's call. Linda, thank you so much, darling.
Hi, Joyce. I just thank the Lord for you so much. It breaks my heart what you went through, and I understand my dad was an alcoholic, but he was not as extreme as what your dad apparently was. But it's been hard to love, with all the abuse. But I have prayed your prayer, the Lord teach me to love no matter what, because He loved me.
That's right. That's right. And that's all we can do, We got to let all that bad stuff go. And, forgetting what's in the past and pressing on to what's ahead. So that's what we need to focus on.
Yes, thank you. And I want to share my first
I'd love to hear it.
I came to Christ when I was, I think, about 12 years old.
Yeah, around my time.
I didn't understand everything,
right.
But the church I was going to, my dad wouldn't take us, so the church had a bus, and they would pick all 5 of us kids up, and my mom and my grandmother, and we all would go. And then one day our church had a book drive to collect books for orphans, and one of my only book I owned that was my favorite was Louisa May Alcott's Little Women. I love that book.
Oh,
I
it's so
read
great.
it 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I was debating so much. I'm like, I can't give this book up. It's my favorite. It's my only book. But I prayed about it, and I got to thinking some orphan needs this book. She needs to see the lessons that are in that book and the hope. And so I did. I donated the book, and I don't know how it happened, but that Christmas I got a brand new hardbound Louisa May Alcott Little Women book.
Aww.
In my favorite color of purple. I don't even know. I never did ask. Was it my mom? Was my dad? They didn't know I had the previous book. They didn't know I cared. And that was God's answered prayer. It just shows He cares about the little things.
He does care about the little things, and that's what's so incredible about our God. I love it, Linda. I'm sure you've had the same experience. To listen